Hello, my people. What a difference lighting makes. Hope you enjoy the lighting on this video. No more dark videos that you can't see anymore. My name is Becca, and this is the Get Life Energy YouTube channel. And I've got a holistic hack for you today, all about menstrual cups. Have you seen these before? So this video is for anybody who has a uterus. I feel your pain, literally. This menstrual cup thing has been a game changer for me. Absolute game changer. It all started back in December of 2016. I got tubal ligation. If you don't know what that means, I got my tubes tied. If you don't know what that means, I got sterilized so that I cannot get pregnant, which therefore meant I could stop taking birth control. I had been on birth control for almost 20 years, and I thought that's a long time to be messing with your hormones and messing with your body. And I know that there's some long-term side effects, which we will talk about in a different video, about choosing not to reproduce, getting your tubes tied, what it takes to get that done, and also the process and the fact that you're not on birth control anymore. So welcome to being a menstruating woman again. And at 35 years old, it was like going through puberty all over again, and it was brutal. But let's just say I stopped taking birth control, and all of a sudden, I'm now having cycles every month, maybe even more often than that. During the time that I was on birth control, I had tried a few different kinds, but there was several years that I didn't have periods at all. God, that was amazing. Now, I ended up doing something different, like the NuvaRing, which I would still have cycles, but only when I wanted to. So I had total control over it, and I could basically cycle through the birth control if I didn't want to have my period that month. Basically, if it was inconvenient for me. So what a luxury that was, being able to control when I got to bleed and when I didn't. But that's not natural. And while I do think that women should take into their own power whether or not they're able to be, whether or not they're fertile, and I think it's extremely responsible of us to use birth control if we don't want to have children. Like, that's just as much our responsibility as it is the person contributing the sperm. Let's prevent unwanted pregnancies here. But that's not what we're talking about in this video. What we're talking about is dealing with when you are a cyclic woman, and when you are having periods, you got to deal with that stuff. And it happens every month. It's going to keep happening. When you get off of birth control after being on it for a long time, your periods can be extremely irregular and all over the place. And you might even be having them every 3 weeks, which is only 21 days rather than 28 days. It's now been about 3 years since I got my tubes tied. And it's taken me quite some time to kind of get used to this process, even though it's happening to me every single month. But there's a lot more to it than just the bleeding part. But this is the interesting thing I noticed. Okay, so skipping out on periods for the majority of the time, being on birth control, I had some tampons. I might have had maybe like a backup pad, but I can't stand pads. So I had some supplies, but I didn't have to use it every single month. And back when I was on birth control, man, I'd only bleed for like 3 days, and it would just be like boop and over with. Well, when things changed, I ended up having cycles that were like a week long, and they weren't heavy the entire time. But you know what I'm saying? Like, there was something that I needed protection for every day, a couple of changes a day, for 7 freaking days. So all of a sudden I started going through a lot more feminine products. And I think it was like, it wasn't even like within 2 months. Again, remember, I had more than one period a month. I had a period every 2.5 weeks, it seemed like, at the beginning anyway. So what's really funny, that I thought was funny, was it only took me 2 months of cycling normally before I was like, how do I get that menstrual cup? I need one of those things. And the reason why is because I went to the pharmacy to buy feminine products, and I wanted to get tampons, and I wanted to get some liners, you know, for leaks, and I wanted this special kind for thong underwear, And I was like, dude, these are like $15. I was like really annoyed at the cost. And I was like, I have to spend like $30 on products and I'm going to have to buy them again in a month or two? That sucks. You know what I mean? I was like, I don't want to have to pay the, what do they call that? The pink tax or something? It's like where they make products for women because they can get our money, you know? All right. So I got my tubes tied in December, and by February, I went Menstrual Cup. And I was using the same Menstrual Cup. I only owned one, and I used the same one for, honestly, I think it might have been over a year before I actually bought an additional one. So it lasted me, I still have it. I'm going to show it to you. But okay, so here's the main reasons why menstrual cups are freaking amazing. No waste. No more dirty, nasty, stanky trash. No more pieces of like the, you know, like what's a little strip you peel off the wing of the pads. No more waste. You're not having to contribute to landfills. You're not having to create all of this garbage and waste. Waste not, want not. One cup. Use it every month. Use it over and over. I'll get into how you use it in a minute. No expense. Dollar bill, y'all. Here's the thing. If you're going to bleed every month, you got to spend money on this shit. It's not going away, right? And I was thinking about how much money women have spent over the course of their lives. So maybe I'm in a slightly different category because of having skipped out on periods for so long with the birth control. But I got to just say, man, when I started having to spend money on again, I was pissed. I was like, this is not fair, you know. Because it's not cheap. If you want the good stuff, if you want the organic, unscented, if you want the non-toxic, if you want the not plastic, you know, it's just, you don't want to be cheap when you're putting that in your vagina. So let me just say that. All right. Number 3, no discomfort. It doesn't ever feel like when you get this thing inserted correctly, I don't even know how you would insert it incorrectly because you have to like squish it like this into this little shape and kind of like, you know, kind of like get it in there, and it kind of like slides itself on up. It's got these little air holes so it can, you know, like it can get a good suction. And let's say this is your cervix. It kind of like fits up over the cervix, just like that. So how is it, unless you put this thing in upside down, how are you going to put it in wrong? It's going to, you know, you can kind of like wiggle it around a little bit. It's going to go whoop into place. When this thing is in place, it's probably a couple of inches up in there. You don't even know it's there. Can't feel it. Don't even know it's there. Honestly, best thing ever. The only way I remember I'm actually having my period is I'm having cramps. So it's so comfortable. Oh my goodness. If you have one that isn't comfortable, you probably need a different size. You probably need a smaller one. And no smell. You know, I can smell when a woman is on her period. And I wonder if it's like iron. I can smell the iron. Sometimes I wonder if it's because that person might be wearing a pad. And perhaps that means there's menstrual blood outside of their body, oxidizing in the air. Sounds pretty gross, right? I mean, you haven't got this far in this video if you're scared of talking about blood. But anyway, I, for one, dislike the odor of the menstrual blood. And when you, even if it's on a tampon, it doesn't smell. The tampon doesn't smell when it's in there, but you've got the string and it sometimes dribbles and, or you get pee on the string and then you're worried that the pee's getting it. You know, the smell is usually in the trash can, but it can smell like really fucking bad. You know what I'm saying? Like it smells like a dead animal because it's blood that's basically rotting or whatever. I don't know. It just smells gross. With this, there is no menstrual blood sitting in the garbage can. Here's the deal. You're going to dump it into the trash. Or I'm sorry. Don't dump it in the trash. You're going to dump it into the toilet when you're emptying it out because that's where you're going to be when you're taking it out. Or you could do it in the shower, make a painting on the floor. You could make a painting with it. You can do a lot of things with the blood once you have it. But That's up to you. Seance, I don't care. But the thing is, you're not having this like bloody stuff hanging out after the fact, after the changing out. And you don't have to worry about your dog digging through your trash looking for it. So I don't know about you, but I always, it's like I wouldn't know when it was time to change the tampon. I wasn't always sure. Sometimes it was very obvious because you're leaking, and other times you're like, is it time to change it by now? And you'd go to like pull it out. But you know, I learned my lesson that like if you pull on it and it doesn't slip out, it's not ready to come out. You got to leave it in there. But I would kind of like pull, and then it would kind of pull halfway out, and then you got to just pull it out. And it would be all dry and kind of uncomfortable to pull it out. And I was like, man, there's like a tiny bit of blood on there. And I throw it away, and I got to put a new one in. Well, I stopped using Super Plus because I don't need that level of absorption. But what I felt like every time I'd have to remove a tampon or deal with any other type of feminine product that was used, I always felt like it looked really gross to me. And I am not easily grossed out, but like I feel like the human body is a beautiful thing, and it really doesn't, there's not much about it that grosses me out. But for me, looking at the, you know, the bloody tampon, I always felt like it kind of reminded me of like bandaging, you know, like someone had a wound and you're taking off the bandages and there's blood on it, and some of it's brown and some of it's red and some of it's fresh and some of it's dry, and it like, bleh, you know what I mean? With this, it's this pool of beautiful crimson liquid, and it even looks like, I almost want to be like, oh, I want my nail polish this color, but you know what I mean? It's like, to me, I'm like, wow, that's kind of cool looking. Or you can see how much your body has produced that day, or I guess how much lining you've shed. But I find looking at a cup full of blood is way more appealing, I guess, than looking at a cotton swab soaked with partially with blood. That's just me. All right, no leaks. No leaks. I'm telling you, remember how I said I used the same cup for like a year? I don't think I ever had a leak. Like, these things are phenomenal. Now, when do you know it's time to dump it? Well, when you go to the bathroom to go pee and you wipe, you probably know this from when you have a tampon in. If there's some pink on the toilet paper, you know that there's some making its way out, as in some menstrual blood has passed by the tampon, or it's passed by your cup, or overflowed the cup, or whatever. So that's when you know it's time to change it. So you go to the bathroom, you wipe, you're like, oh, it's time to change it. Now you can either change it right that second, or you can say, I'll change it the next time I'm in the bathroom. So no leaks. I'm talking like, do you know how many pairs of underwear have been saved by just this cup alone? But oh my gosh, it's phenomenal. No leaks, no smell, no discomfort, no expense. You just buy it once. You spend $20 and that's it for the whole year. Are you kidding me? And that's if you want to buy a new one each year. Do you have a, you know, maybe you're like, oh, I don't want to use it for more than 6 months at a time. Fine, buy a new one every 6 months. It's going to cost you $40 a year. That's like what you would spend per month if there's more than one menstruating woman in the house. All right. Oh, and what a wonderful, what an amazing benefit that you don't have to worry about having supplies. I used to be super concerned about, like, because I had such irregular periods and I was on birth control and all these different reasons that it wasn't happening at the same time each month. And even now that I'm not on birth control, it still doesn't happen the exact same time every month. So good luck with figuring it out. Now, you can plan for when you to expect it, but you guys know what I'm talking about. When you're a female that has to deal with this shit, you like to stash supplies in your glove box, at your office, you need to always have supplies because you kind of never know when it's going to happen. With this guy, you don't have to worry about having supplies everywhere, but only in the case that you if you only own one like I did, then you do need to have some supplies. Like I remember I had the cup at home, and then at my boyfriend's place there was no cup. And I remember starting my period. I was like, oh man, and I was going to stay the night with him for a couple of nights. And I was like, oh, I need to go to the store and buy product. And I did, and we just kept some product at his house, right? So that I was like, okay, I need to have something here for these instances where I don't have my cup with me. But now I own 4 of these bad boys, so now I've got extra. But that's a thing you can do. You know, you can just buy a couple of them and then have a spare stashed either at your office or in your vehicle in your glove box or something, so you always know you have one available to you. So when you start, it's ready. But I've gotten better about tracking my period and knowing when it's going to come, or at least being able to be within a couple of days of knowing when it's going to come, so I can just keep the cup with me when I know it's going to come. Oh, and another huge benefit to using the cup over tampons and other products is no toxic shock syndrome. These guys are made out of silicone. It's extremely non-toxic to the body, and you can leave it in for up to 12 hours. That's what it says, I believe. If I remember right, I think it's up to 12 hours. So you could leave it in all night and into the next day, and even if you forgot to take it out, and whenever you remember the following day, you're good. You're not going to die, because toxic shock is a serious thing, and it could kill you. So, all right. So I kind of touched on this already. You might need to have a spare, and you definitely want to have it with you so that it's ready to go when the time comes, okay? Now, how do you know which cup to buy? Okay, so I'm a burner and I do Burning Man, and a good friend of mine who's a burner, I said, oh my gosh, now that I'm going to have my period every month, I don't want to be on my period at Burning Man, oh God. So the first time I had to think about actually dealing with it at Burning Man, I was kind of worried about it. And a friend of mine was like, get the Diva Cup, the Diva Cup. I was like, Diva Cup? So the first time I ever heard about cups, it was the Diva Cup that I had heard about, okay? I never purchased a Diva Cup. They're the most expensive ones. But you could totally buy a Diva Cup. If you think about it like you get what you pay for, maybe it's a superior quality. I don't know. But I've never bought the Diva Cup. I think the Diva Cup was like 25, 30 bucks for one item, where this guy was 15. So I just was being economical. But the first time I ever bought one, I went on Amazon. I think it was called the Blossom Cup, and that was this guy right here. Now I've had this thing now 3 years, and look, it looks perfectly fine, right? At one point or another, I decided to order another one so that I could have the spare to keep at my boyfriend's place. And when I ordered them the second time, this one came with like a little carrying pouch that I eventually lost. So now I didn't even have a pouch to carry it in, or some kind of, I put it like in a Ziploc bag or something. But you need something to carry it around in. So they normally come with some kind of little carrying case. Usually some little thing like this or whatever. But, you know, once you've rinsed it out, you want to have something you can carry it around with if you don't need to have it in at that time. But this was the first one I got, and then I decided to order another one. Well, when I went online to order my second one, there was a 2-pack that came in these beautiful silk bags, 2 for like 30 bucks. I was like, oh my gosh, or maybe even like 20. Now, I can't find these. I went on Amazon to try to find them to see if they still have this, because I would recommend getting the 2-pack. But anyway, I couldn't find this anymore. But there's 100 different kinds of menstrual cups. Just type in menstrual cup. Look at the reviews. There's a bazillion of them. So, what's the difference? They're all made out of silicone. And the size. Some of them, this is considered a large, and this is considered a like regular or normal. Can you see the difference? One of them looks a little bit longer, and if you go this way too, are they the same? This one looks a little bit bigger around even. Yeah, it's definitely slightly bigger around. So this is the large, this is the small or normal. Okay, do you see what happened down here at the bottom? See that? Where's my little tip? So they come with this little pull tab guy. I don't know what you want to, it's like a little thing with ridges so that you can grab it and pull it out. Well, the reason why this one is ripped off and broken is because I use this thing forever. And I would grab it with my fingernails like this. I would like pinch it with the sharp edges of my fingernails and pull it out. Well, by pinching it with my fingernail over time, it started to rip, and then eventually that little piece ripped off. And I was like, oh, bummer. But it doesn't mean I can't get it out. I can still get it out. It's not like stuck in there forever. I just have to reach in with my actual finger, grab the tip, and kind of press on it to release the suction, I guess. And then I can kind of like pull it out by the bottom of it. Well, now that this one is busted, but again, lasted me over a year, this is my backup cup. This one is going in the glove box of my car so that I always have a spare at some point. Recently, I was complaining that my good cup, meaning the cup that's the most comfortable for me to wear, was messed up and was being a pain in the ass and, you know, hard for me to pull out or whatever. And maybe I was accidentally spilling it when I would pull it out. The little handle does help. Well, this cup, which works great and is in perfect working order, and I've barely used it but a couple of times, this one is a little bit too big for me. Now, if I had a really heavy flow, this thing would be my favorite. Or if I had a heavy overnight flow, this would be my overnight cup. But my flow isn't that heavy. It's only strong on the first day. And even then, it only fills this thing up part of the way. This is my new cup. It looks like that one, but different color. This is called the Athena cup. You can't go wrong with, you can't read it. There it is. The Athena. You can't go wrong with the name of a goddess on a woman's menstrual product. But anyway, I was saying to my boyfriend, I was like, man, my cup is meh, meh, meh. And he's like, oh, what's wrong? And I go, well, I have this other one, but it's a little bit too big for me. When you wear a cup that's too big for you, it can be uncomfortable. It's like when you go to the bathroom, it kind of pushes it down slightly, and maybe this thing is slightly sticking out a little bit or kind of poking the external parts of your vulva. So this little thing is a little pokey. Now, if it's all up in there, you can't even feel it. But if it's, you know, it's like having a tampon that's not in correctly. If it's slightly out, it hurts or it feels weird. It feels funky. It's not painful. It just feels uncomfortable. And the fact that it's bigger and has a more capacity, this thing can hold like 20 mils. This thing can only hold like maximum 15. Well, it's larger, therefore it's more bulky. So I've discovered that this doesn't fit me. I'm actually going to gift this to a friend of mine who recently got an IUD and has a really heavy flow. And I said, I got a cup for you. You can have this one because I don't want it because it doesn't fit me well. Okay. I had a friend that was like, I want to buy a menstrual cup, but I'm not sure which one to buy. And there's so many different kinds. And there's all these different things about what size. You want large, small? I don't know. How do I decide? And I said, listen, don't overthink it. They're pretty much the same. A lot of them are pretty much exactly the same. However, what's your body type? What's your body shape? They say if you've had a kid that you need the big one. But you know your own vagina. Do you have a really small vagina? Is it really tight and you can only fit in a regular or light tampon comfortably? Or do you need super triple X plus? You know what I'm saying? If you have a heavier flow, or if you have a wider vagina, for example, it's just, or maybe you have a bigger cervix or something, you know what I mean? Like, it's about the shape of your body, and only you know what your body is like. I know that many women who've had children and it has not affected their, it shrinks back. But I also know women who have not had children and they might have a different shape of their vagina and therefore they'd want this larger size, okay? So you need to figure that out based on how your body is shaped. I just realized I'm gonna give this baggie away to my friend and I'm gonna take the pretty shiny ones, okay? So I was complaining about my cup recently to my boyfriend, and he said, let's get you another cup, babe. I'm gonna order you another one right now. He just likes to buy stuff on Amazon, I think, and he likes to give gifts. And I was like, oh, you don't have to do that. And he's like, I want the best for my baby. He's a good man. So this is my favorite one. Going in the purple bag. Backup, going in the yellow bag. We went ahead and bought two while we were at it because he was like, why not have a backup? They're cheap. He's like, they're only $20. To me, that's cheap. Now, we went ahead and got this other kind called Corsmall or Corsmall. Corsmall. Korsmall. Leak-free, ultra-soft, reusable. The reason why we decided to go with this guy, I'm so glad I finally get to throw this packaging away because I finally made this video for you guys. Oh, it's so funny, but I've been wanting to make a video about the menstrual cups for my burner girls and my friends and the, you know, for all of us who have uteruses. I've been wanting to make a video about this for a few months, but every time I think I should make that video, it's like right before I start my period and then I need the cup. Okay, so I've been hanging on to all this stuff so I can make this video for you. Leak-free protection up to 12 hours at a time, 100% silicone, no color, pleasure, BPA-free, usable. Yep, all those things. By the way, it's got a how to use it explanation with the packaging, so read how to use it. It's not that hard, but I don't need to go into detail about that right now because you'll figure it out. But oh yeah, so I wanted to get, I was like, that's a cool case. Okay, I liked that this one, like I said, you need something to carry it in. You don't want to rinse it out, because here's the thing. You're in the restroom, it's time to dump it. You're going to pull it out carefully, dump it out in the toilet, and if you're in a restroom at home, and hopefully you can like reach the sink, you're just gonna like reach over and rinse and rinse it out. Rinse it just 2 or 3 times, rinse it out. It's clean, reinsert it. By the way, pro tip here, I would recommend not wiping before you reinsert it, or if you've already wiped, don't dry the cup. Leave it wet, because when you rinse it out with water and then you slide it back in, the wetness creates like a slick, like a lubricant effect. So it makes it way more comfortable to slide it in if there's moisture there. You don't want to try to get this thing in dry because it's made out of friggin' silicone and no. If you are practicing and you're not on your period, put lubricant on it so that you can have some moisture to help slide that thing in there, okay? I could imagine that it could be really uncomfortable if you didn't have moisture to help slide it in. Anywho, Corsmall brand, 20 bucks, comes with a little hard case. I liked that. And here's the cool thing about this one. Do you see that shape? From the front, it looks normal. But you see how it's got this like off to the side thing going on? I was really intrigued by this. It's got a little bit longer pull tab as well. But it looks kind of on the smaller end, doesn't it? Like as far as like how tall or short it is. Here, let me see. Yeah. That's a pretty big difference, okay? So this one, like, well, it's pretty similar. It's more the shape, I guess. But yeah, like so this one has like, say, a 1/2 inch longer cup. This one's got a little bit shorter cup and this angled shape. Well, I thought about the shape of our bodies and the shape of our cervixes, and I thought, that might kind of be awesome. I don't know. I'm not going to know until I try. So I tried it. I love it. This thing's fantastic. It's kind of like a little bit thinner edge. See, it's a little thinner. And so, and this one, I kind of fold it up sideways. I go sideways, sideways, okay? And then I go drunk, and then boom, it opens. I kind of like wiggle it into place or maybe like push it farther in there. And because of this shape, I can't feel this thing at all. At all. However, the drawback is almost never had a leak with one like this. With this one, I've had a couple of leaks where I've had the cup in, let's say, all night, and it's the morning, and I'm like laying in bed and I'm starting to stretch, and then I feel that flow of warm, and I'm like, oh, and I'm like, oh, I gotta go to the bathroom, and I'm like, oh shit, it's overflowing. So had I changed it more often or dumped it out through the middle of the night, that wouldn't have been a problem. But I realized this is a good daytime one. This should be my nighttime one. But again, to have one leak every 6 months, that's nothing compared to regular stuff, right? All right. Is there anything else you need to know? They're around $15 to $20. There's lots of different brands. You can find them on Amazon. You can also search and Google menstrual cups and go directly to the website for the cups, like the Diva cup, the Athena cup, these other brands I've shared with you. Carrying case, super helpful. Now I own 3, so I've got backup, regular use, and I guess you could change it. Oh, cleaning. So when you're actively using it and you're going to be just dumping it out and putting it back in, you don't need to worry about like washing it with soap and water. Now you can if you want to, but I feel I have a very delicate pH, so I would rather not put like hand soap on this thing, because what if there's soap residue and then that gets up in there and causes me to have a yeast infection or something? That doesn't sound fun. So I just rinse it out with plain water, okay? Just water. Like I told you guys, I've been using this thing for 3 years now. This has not been an issue for me. So in my personal experience, you don't have to get up and wash it with soap and water and let it air dry. And like, I mean, who has time for that? Like you need to put this thing back in so you can get back to your day. However, at the end of your cycle and when your flow is really, really light, you're not going to need to have it in all the time. You could take it out for a while. Sometimes I take it out when I'm flowing really light and I let my lady breathe. And then when I start to feel the flow coming back again, because you know how it is, you could not bleed for 3 hours and then start bleeding again. I put it back in when I actually start bleeding again, but I sometimes take it out for a while. And when I do that, I wash it out with Dr. Bronner's soap and water, and then I let it dry upside down. And I usually just sit it on top of the little bag that I keep it in. I usually just put it upside down on that to air dry. You could put it on like a sanitary like paper towel or something if you want, but it's up to you. Buy a 2-pack if you can. And if you're not sure if you need the bigger one, then buy a bigger one and a smaller one. But I mean, or buy a single and see how it works. And if it's too big, then get a smaller. But if they have a 2-pack, why not get the 2-pack? You know what I mean? Then you always have a backup. But what else? Oh, so when you want to clean it when you're not using it anymore. So when you're not going to use it anymore, wash it, soap and water, let it air dry. Now here's the thing that they tell you. They tell you this in the instructions, that over time, as you know, blood has a lot of iron in it, and iron is a dark, it's like a mineral, like a metallic. That's what gives it that weird metallic smell. Anyway, see how this cup is a little bit translucent, and there's those little air holes that allow it to like suction into place. Sometimes those little air holes get dirty, and it gets like a dark color going on in there from residue. And sometimes the cup itself on the inside gets this like dark iron stain. It's kind of like a coffee stain. Like, you know that you washed it out of there. You know that you removed the material. There's no more blood in it, but there's this like stain. Does that make sense? It's kind of like just like how a coffee cup gets stained over time and you got to like scrub it really good. Okay, so with these, don't worry about scrubbing it. I mean, I suppose you could take some kind of brush or I don't know. Here's what you do. You take a little bit of peroxide, hydrogen peroxide. So you can just take like a glass or a jar or a Tupperware container or a coffee cup, and you pour, say, I mean, you could submerge the whole thing, but I pour, say, like 1/2 inch of hydrogen peroxide. And then I take the cup and I smush it and I stick it into the hydrogen peroxide, and it goes, and it like pulls the hydrogen peroxide up into the inside of it because it's got those little holes. Okay, so now you let that thing soak in that hydrogen peroxide. I usually leave it for a few hours and come back to it later in the day. Sparkling clean, good as new. Not only did you just sanitize it, you bleached it, and it's beautiful. So if your cup gets funky looking, just clean it with peroxide. That's all you gotta do. Soak it in peroxide, good as new. So don't think that because it's getting a little stained looking that it's like gotta be thrown out. But you can do what you want. You're gonna save a shitload of money. Your vagina is gonna be happy. Your You might even forget it's in there, but try not to forget it's in there. But maybe I'll cut this out. But one time, my partner and I were going to have sexy time, and I forgot the cup was in there. And we started to fool around, and then I was like, wait a minute. He's like, you okay? And I was like, I need to pull the cup out. Oh, and if you just need to pull it out temporarily because you're going to have sex, take a tissue, some toilet paper, whatever, lay it on the back of the toilet or somewhere in the restroom, pull the cup out, dump it out, lay it upside down on that so that it can drain any residue that it needs to drain if you're in a rush and you want to get back to the bedroom, and then you can wash it out and put it back in when you're done. But yeah, one of my friends was like, what do you do in the porta potty? So this thing is a game changer again for like Burning Man or a festival where you have to use porta potties. You do not want to deal with tampons and pads and crap like that you have to cart around with you in a Ziploc bag because you're not allowed to throw it in the porta potty. And you shouldn't throw that stuff in the porta potty, by the way. So same idea. If you need to empty this thing out and you're in kind of an unsanitary space and you're like, ugh, just take some TP or like a paper towel or whatever you have, and maybe you brought some wipes with you, and lay it down next to you. Remove the cup, dump it out, and set it down next to you on the like flat area, and do your thing and clean your body up and whatever. And then wipe it out with a wipe if you're, again, in a place where there's no running water, and then put it back in, and then sanitize your hands and call it a day. So I hope this helps you tolerate your menstrual time better, and stay tuned for some more holistic hacks on how to deal with being a woman holistically, because I've had a lot of fun things to learn over these last 3 years. But yeah, menstrual cups, don't be afraid of them. They're fantastic. Get one. It'll change your life. And even if it doesn't, you know, like, or that maybe the first one you buy isn't the perfect one and you need to get a second one, you're still only going to be out $40. And you're going to save a ton of money, reduce a ton of waste, and make the world a better place. So thanks for watching. Share this with your uterus having friends if you think that they need to know about this. And if you're already a subscriber, I love you. Thank you for subscribing to my channel. And if not, go ahead and subscribe, because there's going to be more amazing content like this. Bye.